coconut crab, which is a hermit crab, is the largest land arthropod of all. The largest known examples are well over 3 feet in diameter. They get their name from the fact that they have claws that are big enough and strong enough to crack open coconuts. Hermit crabs use empty snail shells as mobile homes, and as they grow, abandon smaller shells and go in search of larger ones. When it is young, the coconut crab does do that, but there comes a point where it is big enough, firstly, that there are no longer any shells large enough for it to use, and secondly, that it no longer needs a shell. Coconut crabs are decapods, which means they have 10 legs. Right at the front, the coconut cracking front legs, the second and third pairs, which are used for running and climbing, at which the coconut crab is very good, spending a lot of its time in trees. The fourth pair, which when it is young is used for gripping the inside of the shell that it is inhabiting. But the fifth pair is hidden away. It's very small, and all it does is clean the breathing organ.
It's late afternoon here at Vimizi, and these crabs will tend to dig holes in the sand. They do this just to remain a bit in the cool and to prevent dehydrating. Within their shell, they're actually covered with water, and this keeps their body moist. These hermit crabs, as they continue to grow throughout their lives, will move from one shell to another. As soon as they come across a shell that they suspect will fit it, he'll give it a bit of a closer inspection. They usually put one claw in just to make sure it's unoccupied, and then will enter abdomen first, and if the fit is good and they're satisfied, we'll then move on. It's so hot here at 10 degrees south of the equator that the crabs must forage at night to prevent themselves from drying out. These hermit crabs have all been attracted to the same area, and here they will withdraw the moisture from the ground as well as forage on the dead leaf matter and plant matter. Now it's almost like last round at the bar. The crabs all come together and they all take what they can. It's pretty much every man for himself, and a swift kick to the head is not uncommon practice. Little scuffles will often break out, sometimes ganging up on each other. Now there's one hermit crab that is just leagues apart from all the rest. And this is in fact a juvenile coconut crab. Now coconut crabs are essentially just hermit crabs, but because of the size that they grow to, they really begin to dominate all the other hermit crabs in the vicinity. The tinier hermit crabs here are definitely wary of their larger cousins and approach really gingerly. This was quite interesting for me as a second juvenile coconut crab entered the fray, and they immediately noticed one another and then came together in this type of identification process. I wouldn't exactly call it a greeting, just maybe one asserting slight dominance over the other. This proved to be correct ultimately, as the smaller of the two coconut crabs eventually retreated within his shell and stayed put, while the second, slightly larger coconut crab began to harass his mate a bit. Eventually, these coconut crabs will not be able to find a shell big enough to accommodate them, and from there, they'll take out into the forest. They are primarily nocturnal, and during the day, they'll spend their time in crevices within the coral island or in holes underneath trees, and only come out during the evenings to forage. Now this crab is not fully grown. He probably weighs around the 1 kilogram mark, and a full-grown adult will weigh as much as 4 kilograms, and their lifespans are comparable to that of human beings. So as you can see, this crab is just moving his antenna up and down in front of him, and what he's actually doing is determining the source and direction and the concentration of particular smells in the air. Now what is really fascinating is that only hermit crabs and insects share these tiny sensory capillaries on the end of the antenna, and considering that they come from completely different ancestral lines, it's amazing to see this convergent evolution taking place right before our eyes. These crabs are mainly omnivorous, and here on the beach I suspect they'll be looking for turtle hatchlings. Otherwise on the forest floor they'll be looking for any fallen fruit or any rotting flesh that may be lying around.